Let's talk about content. We all love content, and social media has put content in the spotlight. But the question here is, are we creating content that will last, or are we creating content that will be disposable? Maybe the only one who can answer that question is our thumb. When we are scrolling our screens, we are deciding the fate of the content in it. And for many decision makers, with the movement of our thumbs, we are not only throwing the content away, but also the money invested in it. It's like, I don't know if you know that application, Tinder. Well, if you haven't used it yet, let me explain it to you because I did. Basically, the app displays profiles of people near you with pictures and a short description. You like the person, you swipe the profile to the right. You don't like the person, you swipe the profile to the left. People in social media are perceiving that something similar is happening with content, but the difference with Tinder is that content in social media, most of the time, is thrown to the left. On top of that, audiences are migrating towards platforms that are strictly designed for content to be disposable, like Snapchat or Periscope. It's like we are trying to create a very sexy and sweet Tinder profile for our content to have enough appealing to avoid being thrown away to the left, but I'm not sure that is working. Let's face it, it is like Tinder where we hope to find a meaningful connection, but we end up having just only one night stand. You know, when I was a kid, I remember my grandmother talking about love with a story her mother told her. I was always wanted to hear that same old story. My sister and I remember we were sitting, drinking tea and eating my grandma's honey cake while she was hypnotizing us with her story in Yiddish accent and her smooth voice tone. So a long time ago, before the world was created, virtues and vices floated around and were very bored. One day, they all gathered together and were more bored than ever. Suddenly, Ingenious came with a great idea. Let's play hide and seek. All of them liked that idea. Immediately, Madness shouted, I want to count, I want to count. And since nobody was crazy enough to want to seek Madness, all the others agreed. Madness leaned against a tree and started to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So as Madness counted, vices and virtues went hiding. Fondness curled up between the clouds. Passion went to the center of the earth, and Lie said that it would hide under a stone, but hid at the bottom of the lake. And Madness counted and counted. 79, 80, 81. By this time, all the vices and virtues were all hiding, except love. For undecided as love is, he could not decide where to hide. And this should not surprise us because we all know how difficult it is to hide love. 95, 96, 97, 98. Just when Madness got to 100, Love jumped into a rose bush where he hid. And Madness turned around and shouted, I'm coming! As Madness turned around, Laziness was the first to be found because, Laziness had no energy to hide. Then Light was found at the bottom of the lake, and Passion at the center of the earth. One by one, Madness found them all, except Love. Madness was getting desperate and able to find love, when Envy whispered to Madness, You only need to find love, and love is hiding in the rose bush. Madness grabbed a wooden pitchfork and stabbed wildly at the rose bush. Madness stabbed and stabbed until a heartbreaking cry made him stop. Love appeared from the rose bush, covering his face with his hands. Between his hands and between his fingers ran 2 trickles of blood from his eyes. Madness, so anxious to find love, had stabbed out Love's eyes with a pitchfork. What have I done? What have I done? Madness shouted. I have left you blind. How can I repair it? And Love answered, You cannot repair my eyes. But if you want to do something for me, you can be my guide. And so it come about that from that day on, blind Love is always guided by Madness. Maybe I was too young to understand all the metaphors and everything. And for sure, the image of love bleeding through his eyes was more shocking than anything else. But there was something in the story, in the tea ceremony, and in my grandmother's voice that made the whole experience unforgettable. Even with the pass of time, this story is always with me, as it was with my grandmother through her life and her mother and so on. Maybe something similar is happening with content and social media. What if social media is a modern version of oral tradition? Oral storytelling is a story spoken to an audience. Throughout history, it's taking many forms, including songs, poetry, chant, dance, etc. Traditionally speaking, a storyteller has been associated with healer, a spiritual guide, a leader, an entertainer. And storyteller can either seek to console or to amuse. In social media, we also speak to an audience through content that can take many forms: video, chat, podcast. The storyteller, the content creator, the community manager, the strategist, and even the brand who will incarnate a persona to reach the audience will seek also to amuse, to influence, to inspire. In both cases, oral tradition and social media, story is at heart. The storyteller and audience build a unique dialogue and interaction as they participate in the creation of a living communication. As I said earlier, you can say that social media can be tagged as disposable, right? However, if we conceive it as similar to oral tradition, we are able to say that social media and content, when significant for the audience, last longer than its appearance on the screen, and its influence can be larger than the likes and shares that it can get. Thank you.